Who'd you rather have as a governor, Jared Polis or Ron DeSantis?
I just like the fact we got a governor fight. I love that idea.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Friday, November 14th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It is a Twitter feud between the two divas of the governor world.
Here's the thing is,
Ron
everybody that's been
DeSantis,
out there and gotten to some sort of
Jared
social
Polis.
media fight, some sort of Twitter fight with someone else, and you're like, and your friends have turned to you and said, you're just being petty. That doesn't matter. Why are you doing that? Just say, hey, I'm acting very much like a governor. You are being very gubernatorial. Understand? Yeah. So just say that now.
Ron DeSantis, Jared Polis, thrown down on Twitter the other day. We'll cover this. But my question is, who would you rather have as governor? I think the voters of Colorado would say, Jared Polis, because things are going so great. That's what I can't figure out. Middle class, leaving. Crime, problem. Cost of living, problem. And who knows? Who would you rather have? Jared Polis, Ron DeSantis. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now it's time for news and comment. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
TGIF, good morning. 41 in PC, partly cloudy in Denver, expecting a high of 71 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story: about 600 flights have been canceled today across the country, even though the government is open again, but the FAA is trying to halt further flight reductions. Last night, VP JD on Fox News says the left was positioned to create as much chaos as possible during the Schumer shutdown.
Behind the scenes that nobody knows about?
Oh, of course. Privately, we were having conversations all the time. And frankly, privately, the Democrats would recognize the position of their far left was crazy. But they all feel a little bit like they're being held hostage by their far left. You said it very well. Chuck Schumer, this probably ended his career, and he was the person who was fighting more than anybody to keep the government shut down. So the far left, they're never going to be satisfied unless the Democrats are willing to burn down the entire country.
Yeah, we got that right. 56-year-old Matthew Pellettieri has been arrested and facing multiple counts of attempted first-degree murder for an alleged road rage shooting in Jefferson County. A black SUV crashed Tuesday on 285 near Settlers Drive. Deputies found that there was a woman and she had been shot in the head before the crash. The woman was taken to the hospital and is still in critical condition. Oil drilling is being restored to millions of acres on Alaska's North Slope. DJT issued a press release saying it was rescinding a decision by former President Biden to restrict development on 13 million acres in Alaska's National Petroleum Reserve. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem praising TSA agents for their work during the government shutdown. Noem said TSA agents at America's airports stepped up and showed outstanding service and patriotism. She also announced $10,000 checks for agents who worked during the shutdown. The BBC says it will apologize to DJT for editing in a documentary about him, but it will not pay compensation. Trump's lawyer threatened to file a $1 billion lawsuit against the BBC for a Trump documentary that aired last year that had misleading editing. The lawyer demanded an apology, a retraction, and damages that compensate DJT. AOC says that MAGA supporters are coming up to her and saying they support her and her ideology. Here's Gutfeld.
She says, I can't tell you how many times Trump supporters have come up to me and said, yes on Democrat socialism, and I can learn from you. Well, I can tell you how many. 0. Didn't happen. She made it up. Because one thing you know about Trump supporters, they're pretty solid on their beliefs about socialism. They make it pretty clear. That's like a dog saying, I can't believe how many times a fire hydrant has come up to me and said, hey, I really like getting peed on.
I agree with that. Jesse Jackson remains hospitalized in Chicago and in stable condition, diagnosed Wednesday with a rare brain condition after he was admitted that day. Verizon is cutting about 15,000 jobs. The Wall Street Journal said Thursday the cuts are the largest ever for the telecommunications company and are set to take place next week. Avs and Sabres last night tied at 3 in the second.
Straight ahead for Brindley. Gavin Brindley with a wrist shot. He scores! Gavin Brindley rips it inside the far post to give the Avs a 4-3 lead.
And they go on to win it 6-3. The final, they are 12-1 and 5. Bad Bunny won 5 Latin Grammys last night. That's Latin Grammys. He's this year's Super Bowl entertainment. I won't be watching that. 40 in North Glen, 39 in Castle Pines, 41 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. You are waking up with Jeff and Bill. I love it. Blake Olson News Talk, 710 KNUS.
Waking up with
Jeff and Bill.
My kids walk around the house saying that too.
The unseasonably warm November weather rolls along right on into the weekend before we see some changes heading into next week. In the meantime, enjoy unseasonably warm November weather for a little longer. Low to mid-70s today, near 70 tomorrow. Increasing clouds, 60 Sunday. Overnight Sunday into Monday morning, a chance of showers and a cooling trend. We're going to see more in the way of unsettled, cooler weather next week with a couple of Pacific fronts arriving mid to late in the week. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Well, the Twitter feud between Ron DeSantis and Jarhead Polis started over a tweet about weed.
Okay.
What a time to be alive.
Okay, just Jeff and Bill listeners, just understand that we are in the year 2025 in November, and we are talking about 2 state governors getting into a social media fight over marijuana. Oh, good God. Teenage Jeff and Bill would never believe this. I'm sure teenage you would not believe it either. Oh, my God.
What a
crazy. What a time.
Bright indicator we've devolved as a society.
Yes. When your teachers were telling you about embrace the future and all the wonderful things that were ahead, this was not on the menu.
Here was the original tweet that Ron DeSantis responded to. Corporate weed is going to be on the ballot again. It's bogus. They're making it, quote, better, unquote, while still baking in the corporate benefit through licensure. DeSantis responded, the ballot language would still have to pass Supreme Court review. The way it's written is vulnerable to challenge on multiple fronts. Plus, there's an ongoing investigation into petition fraud. They may not have enough verified petitions. If you remember, Ron DeSantis is not a fan of commercialized marijuana. And he's right. He's actually exactly right. It's a terrible thing going on. Well, somebody responded to Ron DeSantis saying, the funny thing is, it would probably eliminate property taxes if we just taxed weed. Meaning everyday sales taxes would not need to be increased or increased a lot less. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to help take these people back to 2012 in Colorado when that was the argument around here? If we just legalize the pot, then everything will turn out great. We'll pave our roads with gold, and kids will have their own teachers, and everything will be great, and all the money's going to go to schools and all that stuff. Well, didn't happen, but that's what they're dealing with in Florida Ron DeSantis responded, said, well, that's not been the experience in Colorado. The tax revenue from marijuana sales has fallen dramatically in recent years. He's exactly right about that. Largely because imposing taxes makes the black market marijuana more economical. He's exactly right about that. Hence, why states like Colorado have seen an increase in the black market. He's exactly right about that, not an elimination of it. So Ron DeSantis being forthcoming and exactly right when it comes to his analysis of what commercialized marijuana brings to the community. And here comes Frumpy Jared into the conversation. I got Bill laughing.
That's really good. That is good.
Jared Polis says Colorado's collected over $3 billion in marijuana taxes to pave our roads, to build schools, rec centers, and so much more, all while successfully cracking down on the underground market. Oh, and we didn't use $50 million in taxpayer dollars to block access to freedom. But you do you, says Jared Polis to Ron DeSantis. So how are all those roads? Well, how about building all those schools, rec centers? Has anyone had a mill levy brought on to their communities recently in order to fund more schools? I mean, for those of us in Colorado looking at what Jarhead posted, you're going, what in the world? This is not the Colorado I live in. $3 billion? $3 billion has paved our roads, built schools and rec centers, and so much more. Well, Ron DeSantis was able to respond. $3 billion over more than a decade is chump change, Governor. I've cut more than $7 billion in taxes in half that time. But even then, seems like Colorado's roads leave a lot to be desired, and posts a headline, Colorado backslides to 43rd in national road condition rankings. Oh! Chef's kiss, Governor. Chef's kiss. Well done, Ron DeSantis. And I think after that, I'm not sure Jared responded. Nope, he hasn't.
Yeah.
Wow. So who would you rather have as governor? Bill, Ron DeSantis, Jared Polis?
Well, there's really only one way to settle this, and that's with a dance fight. And they both have to be wearing those white rain boots. Just in general. That's what we needed. That's what we really need in this.
White rain boots?
Yeah, don't you remember when DeSantis showed up and wearing those white boots during the flood? That's what they need, those big white go-go boots. That's what they need.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. That's one of the best pictures ever. DeSantis in the white boots. That's fantastic. So that's what they need, is they both need, that's mandatory as far as the costume. And we do this on like Dancing with the Stars. They do some sort of, it's like, you know, the midpoint in the Dancing with the Stars. They come out and they do some sort of dance-off like in Zoolander. That's what they need.
But I might pin you down on this, Mr. Thorpe. Who, if you had to vote for, who would you rather have for governor?
Yeah, I'd take Polis. I'd take Polis.
What?
I don't like DeSantis. Yeah, there's no,
Polis?
I just don't. Yeah, because I'm not a huge fan of Polis, but I'm really, really not a fan of DeSantis for a variety of other reasons, and just some other stuff that he does inside of the state. I think that Polis has made a calculated error by going after the idea of roads and schools and rec centers, etc., especially leading with the roads, knowing the condition of the roads. There may be somewhat of an argument that I would have gone after as far as DeSantis, as far as freedom and liberty. The idea, that's where I would have gone as far as DeSantis, only because he likes to frame himself that way, as far as the state that has the most freedom and the most liberty. And so I would have gone after the idea that you're restricting choices. I would have not have led with the fact that marijuana tax brings so much into the coffers. That would have been the secondary thing for me. It would have been the idea that, you know, people in Colorado are free to make those choices. So that's where I would have gone if I was advising Governor Polis. But again, we've seen what he does as far as his publicity stunts. Not so smart. Not so good.
Bill, you look at those two states, Colorado and California, going in very different directions. And you go, I pick Colorado.
Yeah, and I do only because I believe that DeSantis at times has too much authoritarian overreach in my mind. And part of that is the idea of, I'm going to go fight you, Disney. I'm going to show you that we have to. And doing things like that. There seems to be too much. And again, I'm not putting it past Governor Polis on certain issues to be completely and totally petty. Oil and gas industry, I'm looking at you. Yes, he's completely and totally petty there. But I see Ron DeSantis being a little more petty on different levels of issues. Also, where I would diverge with most of DeSantis would be a lot of the approach that he has as far as education. I really think that where he's going in that direction. That's why, if it was a binary choice that I had to pick one or the other, and it's the idea of, you can't just say they both suck, which I do believe so, but if it's one or the other, I'll take Polis simply because I think that he is less harmful. That's it. That's all it is for me, personally.
I don't even know what to say.
I know, because you judge it differently, because you look at it and what you're looking for and what you want out of the governor is different. I don't see
him as both stinking.
Oh, yeah, they both suck.
Ron DeSantis is awesome. He's a great governor. Florida is thriving. Colorado sucks. I've lived here for most of my life. I think Colorado's in the worst place it's ever been in its history right now. And you want to continue down this path? Like, we're never going to recover from this. Our schools are going to continue to get worse. Our performance with our students is going to continue to get worse. Cost of living is going to continue to go up. We're going to entrust the government more and more to provide services. Everything's going to get more expensive. The services are going to suck. And then we're going to sit around here and just like it? I get it. Do you like the direction of Colorado? You look at Colorado and you're like, I like this direction.
Well, here's the thing, is that there are two things inside of your statements there. One, it was a binary choice between DeSantis or Polis, and I'm going to pick Polis. I didn't say I'm happy, necessarily going to be enthusiastic with the direction either one are going to take the state. So the fact that I picked Polis doesn't mean, in my mind, I'm endorsing what he's doing here, and I think that he's doing a fantastic job. I'm just saying that if I have to choose both or between two of them, I'm going to choose the one that I think is going to be the least harmful. It's like if I had to choose two different ways of crossing a river that is filled with crocodiles, I would look at that and think, where am I least likely to get bitten? I'm assuming that I'm going to get across the other side completely and totally unscathed, that this is a wonderful idea. I'm saying that where does the least amount of harm lie? And for my 2 cents, I'd go with Polis. I think that he is, over the arc of what he would do, would be less harmful in my mind, based on what's important to me. But again, that's my own individual choice. And that's why I'm jumping onto the party.
It's just fascinating to me that, I mean, that's the state I live in. I live with people that look at the direction of the state and go, we're just going to continue to go down this path. Like Suzanne texting in, when are you going to leave, Jeff? All right. Like, the people are just like the voters of Colorado, the people that make up a majority of Colorado, want conservatives gone. They want socialism. And when I look at across the state, I go, poor performing schools, higher cost of living. The middle class is leaving. We covered that yesterday. We're the second most dangerous state in the nation. And Suzanne's point, when are more conservatives going to leave? It's wild. 1851, these Douglas County residents bought a house in Florida because we know where Colorado's headed. Yeah. That's just, it's wild to me.
Yeah. And I just found online a poll from November 6th, so just last week. It was posted on News Nation that Smart Asset found that single adults, about 50% of them are considering moving out of Florida because they think that it is too expensive. Again, relative to what they are experiencing. Median home price is still a little bit less than it is here. You need to earn a little bit less, but they're comparable based on what you have to earn in order to get a single-family home there. So I'm just saying that there are polls out there showing that those that are in Florida aren't like, where we're living the high life. And again, this is the problem that we have with Colorado. There are problems here, and I think they're awful things, but I'm not certain that Ron DeSantis fixes it. And that's the thing. I would like to see the Colorado GOP put up a better fight, put up better arguments, and in some cases put up better candidates in order to make a run at the governorship and other elected offices. But that's been difficult so far. That's been a difficult thing to do. So,
No, Bill, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with voters like you and Suzanne who would just rather continue down the progressive road. We're just going to go down this road. Leave, says Suzanne.
Yeah, see, I've never said that, and I'm not of that. And the idea is, again, I'm not sitting here saying the most wonderful thing is to continue down the progressive road. I'm not advocating for that at all. But given the direction that DeSantis is going inside of Florida on things that are important to me, I disagree with him on some very fundamental things. So I would not want him running Colorado. So I will take what I view as the least harmful option. And there are many, many times that I make that choice on my ballot.
But
what do I think is the least harmful option?
What is Ron DeSantis doing that's harmful?
I outlined that earlier. I think that he's authoritarian when he goes after things like Disney. I dislike some of the approaches that he has as far as education, and there are a few other things.
Yeah,
but those are major
what about
too.
education, though? Don't you like?
I think that he is spending. I got to go talk to the phones. I think that he is taking too much of an authoritarian role in telling the schools what they have to teach, how they have to teach, and I think that he is making too many of those choices for the entire state, when it's better served by the communities, the schools themselves. And I think that's what it is. We wouldn't like Jared Polis coming in here and telling us and giving us requirements on what the schools have to teach. I wouldn't agree with that, and I don't agree with it based on the DeSantis side either. That's me personally, because that's important to me.
Well, Florida has significantly higher net migration than Colorado, consistently leading the nation in attracting new residents, while Colorado's net migration has declined and is no longer in the top tier. I think it's pretty clear that people are moving. And this one text message, 8422, said, I'd like to see some examples of that $3 billion going to Colorado's roads. That's the most ridiculous thing that's ever come out of his mouth.
Yeah,
Tip of the hat. Well done.
That's an unforced error. Whoever was advising him, he should have checked that with people.
But that's the way these guys think. I mean, look, I've run into this, Bill, and I think I ran into it with Ted Trimpa in the studio when I was asking Ted about the direction of the state. I think progressives look at Colorado and go, we like the direction it's going. And then when you try to point out the problems with it, they just either won't acknowledge it because that means they have to admit that their policies fail, or they're just blind to it. People are moving to Florida. People are leaving Colorado. And in Suzanne's case, she wants more conservatives gone. It's just becoming a progressive state. Deep blue. All right. We'll get to Joe in a second. Let's talk Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law, the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLISLaw.com. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. A Twitter feud erupted between Jarhead Polis and Ron DeSanctimonious, right? Is that the nicknames that they get up?
Yeah, that is the nicknames. Nicely done. Good
There
job.
you go. Jared and Ron fighting over tax dollars that come from pot. Jared saying, look how great it's been. I can't, deal with the stupidity. Jared going, $3 billion has come in from tax revenues. Look how wonderful our roads are. We've built schools, rec centers, and so much more, all while successfully cracking down on the underground market. No, the black market's bigger than it's ever been before because they now just freely operate with pot because no one's going to stop them. So they just grow it there. And I don't know. Do you really need an explanation on how terrible the roads are in this state?
Yeah,
I mean,
I would not have led with that.
That
a mistake.
section between Wadsworth and Bowles on C470 is like driving off road at this point. It's so bad. And then schools. Everybody's schools. No one's communities are begging for more money, are they? To fund schools. Pot's been a disaster, and the Democrat takeover of the state has been a disaster. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Joe Littleton. Good morning, Joe. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. That Mary that called, she's got a lot of spunk. But anyway.
Yeah, she's great.
This is interesting. How long have you been here, Jeff?
I was born here, and then I left in 2000. I spent 6 years in L.A. and 6 years in D.C., and then came back.
So if you just basically calculate it, what would you say? You're how old?
44. I think I have to do the math now. And so all but 12 years of my life.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm fifth generation here. And first of all, Susan, my tribute to her is that record that says, hit the road, Jack. Because I'm not going anywhere. I'm fifth generation. And I'm going to fight for Colorado.
That's great.
I look at it, and I think this Polis is delusional, but who would I rather have? Of course, DeSantis. But here's an example of the road situation. I drive down, I'm in Littleton, and I drive down Mineral. There are these curbs going in, curbs everywhere, here, there, and everywhere. And I'm thinking, my God, look at the road. I don't know how much money it must take, how many men to fix a curb. And the roads are a mess. Then you go down Bowles, like you were saying. Bowles, you feel like you're like they just had a war zone there.
Yeah.
And he's saying that the roads are fine, that they've had all this money. You have to be delusional to think that.
Joe, that's kind of like what I have with progressive voters in this state. Is
Yeah.
I'm wondering what it is at this point they believe is good about nearly a decade of Democrat leadership.
We have a lady here in our neighborhood, and we had like 1, 2, 3, probably 5 neighbors. She invited a fella to come over and check the road. It's a side road, but it's really bad here where I live. And he said, yeah, we're going to take care of that. And we're going to put a type of a barrier up there so we don't get flooded because we have a slope. Well, this is the third time she's called him out in 2 years, and nothing's happened.
Wow. How about the fact that Jared Polis talks about he doesn't want to block access to freedom in this state? I think Second Amendment supporters may have a bone to pick on that phrase.
Yeah. It's just beyond me, these voters. I think I called before and said that we had signs that were conservative or liberal, and then when a conservative came around and told them we don't want these high rises, they put the signs back up to be conservative. Well, they didn't vote conservative, though. They didn't vote for this mayor in Littleton who is conservative. So that's why I said I cannot comprehend the thinking.
And
it doesn't.
Yeah, that makes you a rational person. And Joe, as Dennis Prager would often say, That's the reason why you're a Republican. All right, Joe, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Appreciate the phone call. Joe's line will be open 303-696-1971 or text us on the Dan Capitalist Law text line 720-819-5115. Here's a text message from 1514. Polis's part, I don't know that it's wise to boast about tax revenue when you just had to have an emergency meeting because of the budget shortfalls.
Yeah, again, bad. He led with the wrong thing. Yeah, he completely and totally led with the wrong thing, and he could have gone after DeSantis for a number of other things. But, well, leave it up to Jared.
Pot has brought organized crime to the prairies. Jacqueline, you're exactly right. Colorado roads need a disclaimer. 5486.
Yeah, but
don't use if you experience loose or oily stools.
I don't know. See, the thing for me is that I'm not. I think the pot and the crime that was there prior to legalization, was there after legalization. Yeah, there are other motivations for it. That's the entire. I mean, the entire reason we're supposed to be shooting boats coming off of Venezuela is because of, drugs and crime and stuff like that, just because of legalization. And that's the argument I have with some of my libertarian friends. The idea of just legalizing all the drugs isn't going to work the way that you think it's going to as far as unintended consequences. So I'm less convinced that, we still have the crime.
You want to see what's going to happen if we commercialize drugs? DraftKings. I mean, it's going to be advertised everywhere you possibly can.
Oh, absolutely. That's why.
Because it's profit via addiction.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not. That's where I break with many of my libertarian friends on that one. I don't know. 1468. This might just be it. I'll admit our roads are bad, but at least abortion is legal here. I oftentimes wonder if that's ultimately what it comes down to, is that voters can at least still kill their offspring in this state, and they're willing to sacrifice everything else for that ability to do so. Yeah, and there's part of it where if you believe that is the fulcrum on which the tilt of the state balances, then if you wanted to get some of your other policies in there, then maybe you don't pick that fight. I mean, I'm just saying.
It just tells us what kind of people you are.
It's not a matter of telling you what kind of people. I'm talking about the functionality of if you want more representation inside of government to affect change that you're looking for, then if that is the fulcrum on which it balances, then why take that fight? I mean, it's a Sun Tzu thing. Why are you going to attack?
I see it totally differently. I think it just reveals the type of voters that we live around, our neighbors. We're willing to put up with bad roads. We're willing to put up with crime so long as I have the right to murder my own offspring.
Yeah. And again, you could almost turn that around 180 degrees and say the people that want the change in this state, that are complaining about all the things that go wrong, this one issue is so important to them, they will sacrifice all others and let them continue to languish because that one is so important.
We're people of values.
It just means that one is
and principles. We believe human life should be respected.
No, it just means that is the number one thing, and everything else, let it go. And there are Democrats on the other side too, because that was your argument, that it is so important to the Democrats, they're okay to let everything else be crap. And I'm saying, but the same would be true for Republicans.
Yeah, because we don't give up our principles.
That is so
important.
And
our principle is that human life should be respected.
Okay, but it's so important that you will let the rest of the state languish. It's the same critique you have of the Democrats. This thing is so important to you that you will let the rest of the state languish.
It's not a thing, it's a principle. And it's why Republicans fought against slavery. It's why we fight for the sanctity of life. We are people of biblical principles.
Well,
I'm sure we can get our neighbors.
Oh, we can get. I'm sure Democrats have a whole bunch of ideas as far as them living to the principles as well, and they might disagree on the principles on which they're living with. But that's my point. Is if that is the balance point inside of this state, as you have said, and you're saying that the Democrats are going to let everything fall apart because of it being so important, the same critique is also true for Republicans. Because that is so important, you will let everything else fall apart because of it. So there we go. Yeah, and again, that's where I stand in the middle and go, both y'all suck. That you're going to stand there and say, I'm going to let everything else burn down.
We suck because we have
I'm going to let everything else burn down.
We believe that life is sacred.
I'm going to let everything else
stuck?
burn down because this is going to be the most important thing to me. Yeah, I do. I think there's compromise that should be available. And especially in this kind of a state, when you're living with people of multiple different convictions on faith and multiple different religions.
Should you
and
compromise on
perceptions.
slavery?
What do you mean?
You just said we're people that lack compromise. And I asked, should there be compromise on slavery?
I don't believe that slavery and abortion are necessarily analogous.
I know abortion's way worse.
I just don't think they're analogous as far as what we're doing. As far as I think it's different, and so I wouldn't necessarily put them as the same as far as being the exact same thing. So I don't necessarily think that's a fair comparison per se. But because there are a variety of reasons for that. I just think that it's not necessarily a fair comparison.
Is there anything that you won't compromise on with regards to public policy?
I don't know. I'd have to think for a while. I'd have to think about what and where. I don't know. Depends. It would depend. Yeah, there are a lot of things that I will compromise to try to find an equilibrium that makes sense for everyone involved based on different perceptions, values, and what's important to them. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a father of 4. You know this as well. There's a lot of compromise that happens inside of a family of 6. One of those being, where do you guys want to eat today? That's going to be an example. So that's where I come from. And again, I was a person that also thrived inside of team sports, not individual sports. And team sports are based on compromise. So there's a lot of things throughout my entire life that is about compromise and teamwork. And that's part of it. And I think that's where, it's not always that everybody gets to exactly where they want to be, but can you as a group get to everywhere that you want to be? Yeah, you can. But again, it involves compromise on a variety of different levels. Yeah.
7760 pointing out that Polis signed on to the national popular vote, essentially throwing away the right of voting for half the state. Polis is the authoritarian.
Interesting.
All right,
some merit there.
Feel free to give us a call and join the conversation. Jared Polis, Ron DeSantis in a battle on Twitter over who's leading the state better. In my mind, it's very clear Ron DeSantis is doing a much better job with Florida, and it's clear to a lot of people who are fleeing to the state, the free state of Florida, whereas Jared Polis and the Democrats have ruined Colorado, made it one of the most dangerous states, an incredibly expensive state. Our schools are performing poorly, and all of that under total Democrat control. People are leaving, the middle class fleeing the state of Colorado. All right, let's talk Mountain High Appliance. Their clearance center in Denver. Their clearance center offers a huge selection of ranges, refrigerators, washers, dryers, and more. Save up to 60% on open box, scratch, and dent display models and overstocked appliances from Bosch, Thermador, KitchenAid, and many more. When you're looking for a great deal on appliances, think Mountain High Appliance Clearance Center for the best prices and selection. 601 East 64th Avenue in Denver. 601 East 64th Avenue in Denver. Check out the great opportunities coming in from Mountain High Appliance. We'll continue with your phone calls and texts. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Oh boy, did we kick off the
So many texts.
text messages this morning.
Great.
There's
love
so
y'all.
many debates.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start because we're debating the sanctity of life and roads and drugs and everything and education.
It's great. This is so many things. This is awesome. You guys rock. This is a lot of fun this morning.
So we're talking Jared Polis, Ron DeSantis in a battle on X. I mean, it wasn't. It was like the battle of two Ivy League educated nerds.
Yeah, and not very good at it either. That's the thing. It's like, y'all suck at this. And listen to Jeff and I for a while. Let's see how this is really done.
Throw you down a little bit.
Exactly.
We're asking, who would you rather have as governor, Jared Polis or Ron DeSantis? In my mind, it's pretty clear that people moving to the state is strong evidence of whose leadership they like more. Florida has one of the highest net migrations as people are consistently attracted to Florida, whereas Colorado's net migration has declined and is no longer a top tier. So, Bill, why do you think people are moving away from Colorado?
Affordability. That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's what we talked about yesterday. It's an affordability issue that it is becoming unrealistic in order to have a middle class employment and be able to afford a house. It's not necessarily that much more affordable in Florida, but it is better. On par, they are doing better on basic affordability from what I've seen than Colorado. That's why I think people are moving out. Now, there is a portion of that is going to be politics as well.
Why do you think, and Bill's got to grab this, but why do you think that Democrats can't make anything affordable? I mean, they really can't. They can't make any community affordable, and they can't build anything. And when they go do build things, it often it requires a lot more money and a lot more time. Look at DIA. Look at 16th Street Mall. I'm still going to call it mall. Look at the train to nowhere in California. But the more progressive the city, the more expensive the city, the more difficult it is for the middle class. And I guess you get this kind of like bifurcation that takes place under progressive thought, right? And progressive leadership, where Mayor Mikey's walking around about a new housing facility he's built for teachers and for firefighters and they can move, and nurses, and they can move into Denver now and live there alongside, in the same video, recently released convicts and the homeless. So this is what you get in major cities. You get big, expensive homes, millions of dollars, and then you get subsidized living for the poor. And somehow the middle class is supposed to just live among the convicts and the homeless.
And the thing is that a causal relationship? And what I mean by that is do the cities fall apart because they have progressive leadership, or do cities tend to have more progressive leadership because of environments that are contained inside of the cities? And that would be the thing that because the idea is everybody goes, oh, look at all the big cities, they're all blue.
Correct.
Yeah. So is that a function of the voters once they get inside of a city, having to look at a more progressive environment? Or is it a function of only progressives move to big cities and then vote that way? I mean, I don't know what that is. There that causal relationship.
But help me understand Democrat cities that are improving.
What do you mean by improving? And then
let's lay that out. So better
schools,
more affordability to live, restaurants that are opening and thriving and doing great. I mean, at this point, Mondani's only solution is government-run grocery stores and free buses. The city of Denver is losing restaurants at a higher rate than surrounding areas are. Crime continues to be a problem. 20% of middle school 8th graders in Denver public schools are at level for math. And I mean, Ezra Klein with the New York Times even has a book on this, that Democrats can't build things.
Yeah, but the idea is, I mean, again, if we look at the worst performing states as far as education, there's a mix of both Democrats and Republicans. We've done this before. So there are red and blues that are mixed at the bottom. So if it was...
Are the policies in those red states geared towards school choice?
I'm not sure. But again, I would assume so, because it's a big thing for those red states.
Like Mississippi just started to implement school choice, and it skyrocketed in its quality. Wyoming, for instance, didn't have school choice until just till recently. Colorado started school choice a long time before Wyoming did. So just because it's a red state doesn't mean that all the education policies are the same.
But the issue being that if school choice is the one that raises the achievement, then why isn't it working in Colorado?
Oh, it's 100% working in Colorado. The best performing schools.
The
best performing schools are charter schools.
But you said that you just had a number of
and that was,
people
and
that
I
can't.
mentioned that was Denver public schools.
Yeah. But again,
which is not run by a bastion of conservatives.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that why wouldn't it raise across the board? That's the other part, is that the idea of school choice is that important. You still see other states that are languishing behind. And that's the issue, is that it's not, I don't believe it's necessarily a red or a blue thing. I think that it has a lot of other things that are wrapped inside of it. Based on that, I disagree with the idea that, it's all these progressives that move into the cities and then tear down the cities. I haven't seen the example of where the Republicans have taken over a large city, and then changed it appreciably that way to make it more affordable.
2 examples for you.
Okay, good.
Very clear. You ready?
Yeah,
when
sure. Let's do
Donald Trump brought in the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and Chicago, in both cases, crime had significantly dropped. It is a leadership issue. What you get from progressives all the time is like what we saw over the border. We just need to pass another law. We need to have another committee. We need comprehensive immigration reform. No! You need leadership. You need clear leadership. And when Republicans are able to influence anything, for instance, with regards to National Guard in Washington, D.C. or Chicago, you saw the communities get safer.
Yeah, the numbers on that on D.C. don't show what you say they show. It didn't see that necessarily dramatic drop inside of crime that was inside of there. And the other part is then you're saying that what makes it good for Republicans is authoritarianism. We need to bring in military in order to maintain control. And I disagree with that as a whole. And I haven't seen the numbers inside of Chicago either. But the numbers I've seen inside of D.C., there were some drops in homicide rates. And there was another category where you saw a nice drop. The rest of it, not so much.
In Chicago, homicides down 16%, shootings down 35%, robberies down 41%, carjackings down 48%, transit down 20%. Republicans have proven that when they get even just a little angle of leadership, like with education as well, they improve results. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is KNUS.